Tonight on And Still, a wrestling podcast, we take a look at the recent Survivor Series War Games, give you our review of each match and the return of Randy Orton, R-Truth, and go figure, CM Punk. We cannot miss that one. Also, AEW All In London 2024 tickets go on sale. We'll talk that and much more. But Timekeeper Ring.
Welcome to the And Still, a wrestling podcast, your weekly podcast covering the latest in the world of professional wrestling.
Welcome back into And Still, a wrestling podcast. Morgan, Kevin, and Drew here to talk all things wrestling in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, the biggest thing on the list tonight, something I think I don't know, I'll ask the guys. I think we kind of thought that this would happen. I don't think CM Punk was going to disappear into nothingness to never return, kind of like a old Jedi. But he did return and he made a big bang, and it was kind of interesting to see him. Honestly, from the last time we saw him in AEW, there was a lot of controversy, but not just controversy. He's cleaned up, fellas. Old Triple H sent him to the barbershop, got him a clean white T-shirt and a fresh cut, and he looks younger and he looks excited to tackle this new adventure, albeit a lot of controversy behind it because, nobody really thought he would go back, especially with Triple H running things. All the things he said and bridges that he burned in both companies, he is back. To thunderous applause, CM Punk enters into Chicago at Survivor Series War Games. Drew, you look like you're like just ready to just give us your thoughts.
For starters, I've been calling this shot for months now. That it's like I knew he was coming. It's like the second they started making all the hints, all the references, I was like, that dude's coming back. The WWE, they got him locked down. But it's also the fact of how you just gave the intro there for CM Punk. It's definitely at some point here we got to hear the well. Look who's come crawling back to the E.
So you just successfully combined two things I really don't care to talk about: Star Wars and CM Punk. You said he came back to thunderous applause, yeah, of course, in Chicago, and I'm huge in Japan. Deny
it. Yeah, I can't deny it. I don't have any video of it, but I mean, you say it, and I believe it.
That's what the Oracle does. Speaking of boys,
you're not going to give us your thoughts, your real thoughts at all on it?
Listen, where are we going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? You know what? You know what I'm happy for? I'm happy he's out of AEW. Let him go spread some cancer in the WWE. We've already heard that Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and a few other people behind the scenes aren't happy. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I found it interesting, and I think that's right. I think Busted Open spoke about it today. Apparently, the commentators laid out during CM Punk's entrance because they were restraining Seth Rollins. I don't know if there's truth behind that. There is some footage of two of the guys, Michael Cole and Neck Tattoo, holding back Seth Rollins. Apparently, Seth wanted to go after CM Punk. What I understand how it when all went down was no one was smartened up until the main event. Before they went out for the main event, they said, "Hey, lay out. We're going to introduce CM Punk," and nobody was happy. I think it was completely disrespectful that they put him out there after the finish of the main event. It completely stole that thunder. And for what? He didn't speak. He didn't do anything other than appear. Why not hold that for Raw? I thought it was done very poorly. They did it for one reason. That's it. That's the only reason why they did it, is because they were in Chicago and they knew they get the pop. Yeah, is he going to be cheered everywhere else? It'll be very similar to the way he was in AEW. He's going to be booed in most places, cheered in a few, and some of those would be Chicago.
If I can give you one thing here, I thought about this after it was over, after they did the thing. It's like, AEW and WWE have in the last 2 weeks made, each of them a major signing. I think the WWE signing of CM Punk is good for the company in the short term. And I think AEW, on the other hand, who signed Will Ospreay, is good for the company in the long term.
So
Would you agree?
I saw a snippet of the media scrum, and I think Cody put it best. The only thing I'll speak to is if he's going to bring us business, come on in. And he's like, and that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, but I think CM Punk is probably good at the least for bringing in business for the next year or so. And
So, Andrew,
yes,
if you let me think, I need to put this in a reference that would make sense. Um, I don't know if I can think of something on the fly, but basically, you're bringing in someone who's a known issue, and it's only to pop a rating. And how long is that going to be good for? I'd like to know what the terms are. I'd like to
well,
know what in the contract there is. I mean, first of
well,
all, H is not going to feel physically threatened by CM Punk in any stretch of imagination. But knowing his track record, don't you have something that says, "Hey, man, if you cause problems, you're the fuck out of here."
I do wonder about that because I was thinking that too when I watched the media thing with Triple H, where he's sitting there like, "It's been 10 years since he's saying we're different people from who we were 10 years ago," and I immediately thought I was like, "No, 6 months ago, this dude was causing a whole bunch of problems in
CM
AEW."
Punk is worse than he was 10 years ago. Morgan, what do you got?
Well, I will throw this in there. Mike Johnson of the PW Insider reported that he was told by those within WWE that there was a consensus among the talent and the staff and the higher ups that, as you mentioned, Kevin, that it was okay to have him there if he brings in more money and he enhances the environment and the ticket sales of the events, and everybody can get along for more money. But however, it was noted that with that optimism also came the caveat or the request that he not cause problems and make everybody crazy. Now, I just don't see how that's possible. Now, I do feel like that he has a better chance of making it in a much more organized and professional and long-standing company, and also now a company that's part of even bigger company. So it is the corporate giant. I think he has a better chance there, especially since he's surrounded by dudes that I do believe he respects a lot more than the dudes he publicly criticized in AEW. So I think he has a better chance. But that is one stipulation there that we will be monitoring for probably the next as long as he's there.
Anybody want to take bets on what that is? I haven't paid too much attention because honestly, I don't really care. I thought we were over talking about him. He is more of a spectacle than he is an attraction at this point, in my opinion. He can still go, but he's fragile. He broke what 3 times in a year in AEW, year and a half. I think he had 3 injuries in a year and a half. I think Stevie Richards has the best slant on it. He was in WWE, left 7 years passed. They gave him that TV deal. He signed for $3 million. That TV deal lasted 3 episodes. He got $1 million an episode. He found a money mark in Tony Khan. Tony Khan gave him X about $1 million. He went down there, he collected, he got the fuck out. He's doing the same thing in WWE. So on a money perspective, CM Punk's pretty damn smart. Whoever's going to pay him, he goes to work for, pisses those people off and leaves. I think it's a
I,
smart ploy, but again, I don't see what he brings to the table. What he brings to the table, in my opinion, does not offset the destruction that he causes behind the scenes.
I will say I think that's one of my running gags is that I said Hangman was right, whether that was intentional or unintentional. Hangman was right when he did that promo on him. Remember where he said like, "You're good for the company, you make everything great, and you inspire and you challenge us to be great. But the second we put a championship belt on you, you become toxic."
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And it kind of goes into the biggest question from what I see on social media is, yeah, you brought him out there. You brought him out there in Chicago. As you mentioned, even AEW had issues with him outside of Chicago being booed like Cody Rhodes was booed everywhere. So it seemed as if the fan base outside of Chicago area will turn on him and not like him there. The pop was perfect for that stadium, but you can't just always show him there and nowhere else. So what is he going to do? What is the Rumble plans for him? What is the WrestleMania plans for him? And a lot of concern there because AEW is right now, and they mentioned this in that media scrum that you talked about, Kevin. AEW has an Avengers worth of baby faces. I mean, and those guys have their following, they have their chants, they have their t-shirts, and they draw in viewers and people in seats. And those five guys that were in that War Games match on the babyface side, they didn't need CM Punk to fill that stadium at all. AEW probably did, and we see that they're suffering now because of some of lack of top talent like CM Punk. But WWE really has a collection of guys that can hold their own. And so where does CM Punk fit in all this? Other than just being a cheap pop, as Kevin has already mentioned, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. But where does he fit? You're not going to put him against Roman. You're not going to put him against Cody. You're not going to really destroy your WrestleMania or your Royal Rumble ideas. So where does he go?
So as we record this, it's 8:57 on Monday evening. Are either of you watching Raw right now in the background?
I've got it playing.
My guess is they told him out at either 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock to pop that hour rating. I don't think they'll do it as they go off the air because I don't think that the rating value of that rating at 11 o'clock over the overrun is worth it. I think it's a 9 o'clock pop. So we got 2 minutes to see if they card him out. Go ahead.
To answer real quick, if I may, to answer his question is like, what are they going to do with CM Punk? It's like, do they have a plan? It's like, yeah, they do. It's called Night 1 main event of WrestleMania. It's like, mark my words. If I'm making predictions like CM Punk's coming back to WWE and I got that one right, let me just call my shot right now. Rollins and Punk are main eventing Night 1 of WrestleMania.
You know what I heard?
Hmm.
Stone Cold and CM Punk at WrestleMania.
Man, they really are handing him everything he ever wanted.
That's the rumor.
Oh
That's
boy,
the rumor.
They're gift wrapping him. This is great.
Why did he leave 10 years ago, Drew? Because he didn't get the main event at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, and now are we going to give it to him? We're going to give it to him against his dream opponent. Holy cow. Maybe I should badmouth my job more.
Fuck this BMW shit. Audi all the way.
Yeah, like what am I doing?
Hey, listen, I don't know what the weather was like by you guys today, but it was not very sunny around here. Old Sonny getting 17 years in the can, and that's not a friggin' adult film reference. And man, she was pushing the size 22 orange jumpsuit. If that girl was 220, she was a pound. Holy shit, how the mighty have fallen.
That's why I remember you saying something to me. It's like, shouldn't we be making more jokes about this? It's like, it's kind of hard to joke about the fact Sonny killed a man. She went on a drunken stupor, got behind the wheel, and killed a guy.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe this was her 7th arrest, and this one stuck. Not for just DWI. She had aggravated assault, attempted murder. She's had all kinds of crazy shit, but this one stuck. 17 years in the can.
Why do we
And
think
listen,
she's going to go peacefully to jail? It's like,
well, she's incarcerated now. She's not. Yeah, now she's going to prison. She's out of jail. She's going to prison. So 17 years in the can. And then I'm going to bring back the reference. If anybody ever listened to Box of Gimmicks, what the hell is it? Something to Wrestle With. Bruce Pritchard coined the phrase, "She pooted." And boy, Nick Wayne's mom was pooting the other night.
There it is.
Oh,
I was sitting there like, he's going to somehow transition from this Sonny thing to Nick Wayne's mom. Come on.
No restraining order on Nick Wayne's mom, man. Whew.
Let's talk about something on the AEW side. Now we'll back away from the WWE and CM Punk. There's still
can we talk about the matches and what we actually saw, what we enjoyed, what we did enjoy? Because listen, for the first time, I didn't even watch WrestleMania this year. That was the first premium live event that I actually sat down and watched beginning to end, and I slept through about an hour and 20 minutes of it. And that is not a
Well, we
that is
know you're just
that's
gonna bash it, so we're
dude,
just gonna move
that's a
on, not
shoot.
unless you bash it the whole
That's a
time.
shoot. I seriously, I lost interest in the Gunther in Miz because there was no chance that Miz was going to beat him. There was a masked wrestler that I think I slept through, and I think I woke up with the women's match, who there was no chance that Mommy was going to lose. So the only match I couldn't call was the women's War Games because I didn't know two-thirds of the people that were in it. But I think I saw Io
Bullshit.
Sky do that. No, I think I saw Io Sky do that same maneuver with the trash can like 3 years ago in NXT. Did
Oh
I
yeah, she
not?
totally did.
Okay. So it was a show, no doubt about it. My biggest beef was the fact that the finish of the men's match in which the kid from NXT, what's his name? The
Which
smallest
one?
guy in the ring.
Well, I mean, the
Dominic?
guy that was
JD
on,
McDonough,
no,
JT McDonough.
JD McDonough, yeah.
Okay, JD McDonough was supposed to take an RKO, and timing was good, but Randy didn't touch the kid. The kid put his hands down on the mat before he actually touched him. So they botched the finish of the main event. AEW never botches.
Okay, yeah, okay. They never botch finishes, that's right, yeah.
But
Yeah.
seriously, I
Oh,
didn't think it was a great event. It's just not my cup of tea. And now maybe it's because I'm not invested in the characters and the storylines, but it looked like mid-card matches, in my opinion.
Hey,
so,
a heads up,
you know,
Kevin.
I'm
Real quick for Kevin, it's like it's 9 o'clock and Raw is going with the roller coaster.
Okay.
So yeah, CM Punk 10:45, 10:50.
Okay. Old school. Morgan.
Cody has been talking now for, gosh, probably 6, 7 minutes. He's been on that mic by himself in the ring,
Is he introducing
which,
QT?
honestly, he fits himself. He fits WWE much better, which is kind of sad. Like, I feel like he's doing really well in WWE, but last time we saw him was really his last greatest match in the AEW was when he got set on fire in the burning table. We were there and we saw that match in Duluth, and that was really, I think, if not the last match, one of the last ones, then definitely the most memorable of his final run there at the very end. But he does seem to be a guy who fits WWE better than AEW. It just seemed like he never got over. And that was, I don't know if it was that match, Kevin, Drew, you guys can remind me, but they threw his belt back like 5 or 6 times from the crowd. And I don't know if that was when we were there or the week later, but I think that kind of stuff really ate on him because everybody else was injured at the time. All the EVPs were all injured, and he was kind of carrying the show and was one of the main attractions and was doing a lot of good stuff in the ring, but the crowd just was not behind him at all. I mean, they didn't want him to be a heel. He wasn't going to be a heel, but they didn't want him to be a babyface at all.
Yeah, he got the boo-boo face. Very similar to Ronda Rousey when the crowd turned on her, she didn't want to do it anymore. And
Right.
now
Yeah.
she's
That's
popping
that's
up.
how it felt.
Yeah, yeah, she's
I
popping up in indies now. But to your point, he does fit WWE because he's that sharp dresser. He dresses above the part that he holds, and he does hold himself a little differently. I was fortunate enough to be at the Something to Wrestle With where he appeared in Atlanta before the Super Bowl. Aaron and I were front row. In fact, there's a fantastic photo of my wife with Cody and his dog, who happened to be there at the show. Very humble dude, very nice guy. I really think he appreciates everybody that actually reaches out and just lets him know the job that he does. And this is just before AEW became a thing. He was super nice in person, but what you see is what you get. I believe that everything you see on TV, everything you see in character is really just him just amped up. And that's typically what makes the best professional wrestler. It's that person turned up to 11. I think that analogy has been used 100 times. But you're right. He seems to fit that business mentality more so than AEW, and I think you're right. I think he fits better in WWE.
for the record too, it's like I know this will never ever 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 happen. But let's be real with ourselves. It's like just hypothetically thinking here, it's like, you know what? Cody Rhodes would have made the best devil for MJF if you think about it.
I think you put a lot of
Well,
people in that role.
Yeah, I know you
and
can't. It's like, but like, how cool would it have been if it actually? It's like they're just fantasy booking, just Cody Rhodes. You know,
Yeah,
like
but
the
you would had to have carried a year's worth of storyline to get to that point. And I know we're going to jump over to AEW, but with the news that came out today with MJF having a torn labrum, his hip is messed up. I think he's going to take a powder. I think he's going to take the first half of the year off. Drop the tag to. Well, we'll talk about it coming up.
so just to kind of wrap up what we're looking at on Raw right now, you've got Shinsuke Nakamura, who has basically called him out. So remember that storyline there, Drew, where they were like, okay, okay, and he just got spit in the eyes with red
Redness does what now?
spray. Redness. I don't know what redness does. Didn't we talk about that last week? What colors do what?
No, that was during the pay-per-view.
um. So that's where that feud is going, which makes some sense there. But yeah, we have a ton of stuff that we want to talk about and get on with AEW. Before we do that, though, just to kind of go over the matches from Survivor Series War Games, you mentioned the masked guy, whoever you didn't know who it was,
Dragon Lee. He
Dragon
was an
Lee,
AEW guy.
and Santos Escobar. I actually really enjoyed that match. I like what they're doing with those two guys. They seem to be very talented. The Miz and Gunther. Here's the thing about Miz and Gunther. I don't really like Gunther, but I respect him much more after his media scrum because the guy plays the part. He knows that he's not the Cody Rhodes, but he's going to be the best and challenge anybody. And he kind of fits that hard-nosed, European guy that's going to take on anybody. I do not really necessarily like him as a build in his, who he is. I mean, I like that he's cut weight. He looks better, much better. But man, the Miz, I will say this, Triple H mentioned this too. The Miz, versatility as a character, as a person, as a wrestler, when they need him to do something, I kind of think like he's the kind of similar to, I mean, I don't want to even say Dolph Ziggler but he's just that guy that just has been around forever, but he's much better than Dolph, in my opinion, because he's much more versatile and he can be funny when he needs to be funny. He can be a heel when he needs to be heel, and he can change himself around when he needs to, and he can fit the business when they need to, which goes back to just being that guy that can be presentable not only on your Monday and Friday show, but also into corporate meetings and partnerships with other businesses. So to me, I actually respect the Miz because no lie, I was like in high school when he became kind of quote famous under MTV's Road Rules or Real World or whatever. And I thought he was kind of annoying back then, but I always thought it was cool as a kid to see this guy kind of chasing his dreams as a wrestler. And I mean, he really has done a ton in that role.
Mike Mizanson is a first-time ballot Hall of Famer. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm probably going to expose some of my WWE incorrect knowledge, but isn't he a Triple Crown winner numerous times?
Yes.
Hasn't he done it all? Is there a single belt that he hasn't held in WWE?
Um, he's never been world heavyweight champion, or I guess the Universal Championship matters anymore. He's never held that one, but he's a two-time WWE champion, multi-time United States Intercontinental Tag Team titles. He's held everything. It's like the only thing he hasn't done besides win the world heavyweight title, I would say, he's never won the Royal Rumble. But that's few and far between opportunity on this one. Man, it must be.
And tell me that his wife is not hot too. Come on.
Yeah.
Maurice? Dude, his
I was gonna say-
mother-in-law's a riot. His mother-in-law's a riot.
Hey, side note, Kev, is it killing you that much that we're talking WWE? Because I see him in the background of my video here. It appears to be chugging down an entire bottle of champagne or something.
It's Pellegrino. I only drink the finest sparkling water. No, listen, again, I watch all wrestling. I don't need to like it all. I mean, I watch a lot of GCW, which is dog shit wrestling, but I enjoyed some of it. I might even I got to tell you, just before we started on this, I watched the last 20 minutes of The Wrestler on Netflix, and I might try an OVW match on Thursday nights. I don't know yet.
You
I
mean
thought it was okay.
wrestlers?
Is that what it's
The
called?
wrestler
Wrestler?
is the
Yeah,
other
you're right.
thing with the other guy.
Mm.
Also, the women's world championship. I expected a ton from Rhea Ripley. I know that she's amazing. I mean, the chaps too, man, the chaps. But Zoe Stark, man, she held her own in that match. Now there was one botch, a little bit of a botch, but it kind of worked out. It was weird off the top rope. She kind of she overflipped, it seemed. But man, those two girls that are bigger girls that went at it and they're athletic was really cool to see. And then you switch to the women's war game match, absolutely stacked. I mean, we already know Charlotte Flair, Belair, Becky Lynch, and this new girl that I don't know anything about, Shotzi, seemed to be pretty good, honestly. She held her own as well. Then you got Bailey and Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky. I mean, that group, as you mentioned, to me, it was a pop for me with the trash can off the top rope, just because, I had never seen something like that. But, obviously that had already been done, so it didn't pop as much for you guys. But to me, the both War Games matches, you know, men's and women's side, definitely made me want to watch Raw tonight and more episodes going forward. So I think it was a successful pay-per-view for a casual.
So I have a question. What happened to Shotzi's tank? When I knew
Still here.
Shotzi, she was in NXT and she had that tank she would drive down in, and they worked into a storyline where they said it was like her childhood tank. You haven't seen it, Morgan? It's like it's almost
No,
like
I don't know anything about this.
it's almost like one of those big wheels that the kids ride, like big wheel, the powered like two
Yeah,
mile an
okay,
hour.
Power Wheels, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes, Power
totally
Wheels,
Power Wheel.
but it's a tank, and she shoots missiles out of the tank. That's how she was in NXT, and I enjoyed that. And then I
Okay.
saw her in this women's main event.
They
Again,
have
and you guys don't think I'm shitting all over the product, but you know what I remember about Survivor Series? I remember that CM Punk made an appearance. I remember that Randy Orton botched the finish. I cannot sit here honestly right now and tell you all 5 members of the face team. I know Randy was a late show. Obviously, it was Cody, it was Seth, and I'm failing to remember the 2 others.
I
Jay
mean,
and
the
Sammy.
crazy part is that is Jay and
Sami
Sammy, and
Zayn
you should be able to remember them.
and Jey Uso. Nope, I
God,
until you
it's
just
like
said it, I could not recall it. That's how
I said
memorable it
I
they're like
can't
was.
believe that because, like I
And I
said
like both of
earlier,
those
the
guys.
most over dude in that whole
I
group right
totally get
now.
it. I totally get it, but for whatever reason, again,
every single one
they
of those
never
guys
they
is
never remember
over.
anything but the finish. That's the line, right? And the finish was CM Punk, and that
Well, that's
upset the
true.
whole night for me. That upset the whole night. And listen, like you
I
said, it
can
was
understand that.
Dragon Lee and Carlos Escobar. Did you say?
Santos
Santos
Escobar.
Escobar.
So Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee. I slept through it, but it sounded really snug.
It's like, first of all, Dragon Lee, that's an AEW guy. Rush's little brother, right? It's like, second of all, it's like Santos Escobar. Like, I'm telling you, man, that dude has a serious upside as a heel.
Yes, actually,
I think
I
so,
like
yeah.
I liked it when they called him, um, who's Ric Flair's son-in-law?
Andrade,
Andrade?
Yes, I liked it better when they called him Andrade Idolo.
cute. I
Wait,
I
what?
was,
I don't get that.
Same character. They
I was
lost the
thinking more
Andrade, so they made
Andrade
another
earlier
one.
because whenever you
Oh,
were talking
okay.
about, did we see Cody's last real big match in AEW? We're
We
live. It's
did.
like, unfortunately, that was probably also Andrade's last big match in AEW. Because, like,
Well, at least
Yeah.
Andrade's still there, right?
yeah, I just need him to do more.
Well, I mean, that's something that we could probably spend a whole nother show on about who they're utilizing and who they're not and why not. Well, let's start with AEW since we kind of went over and we're at the 30-minute mark well, before I go.
Yes. Can we stop for a minute and just what you just said, what they're going to do going forward? Can we bring up the fact that QT Marshall about an hour ago resigned from AEW? He has formatted all of their major events, over 750. That means that coming beginning of the year, they're going to need to find somebody that's going to format them differently, and we may get a different booking style, a different type of show because of that. Every
What's
every
what's
four
formatting mean?
Okay, I'm gonna say these are the 5 matches I want, Morgan. You're gonna decide when they go on, how long they last. So whether Joe goes on first or Joe goes on last, you're gonna decide how they go on the card.
So he
And
was there,
everybody
Pat
has
Patterson.
yes, he's there, Paul Heyman. Y you have a signature when you format a show. This is your style. I put the women's match on 4th because. I put the women's match on 2nd. We're gonna see a different type of format come the first of the year, and I'd like to see who's gonna jump into that, number 1, and number 2, we're gonna see a bit of a different show because of that. I think we're gonna see it on Dynamite, I think we're gonna see it on Collision, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Listen, we know that AEW is cold right now, they need a fresh coat of paint, and I think that's gonna
Yeah, they
come
do.
after the first of the year. It's not gonna be a drastic
Actually,
change, but it's gonna be a stylistic formatting change.
That brings me to a point. I saw, I know it's QT resigning, but like, do you think his resignation has anything to do with like we're cold right now?
No, he's going to WWE. Cody got him a job. It's almost guaranteed. I mean, that is his boy. He owns his wrestling school.
God, you're
but
probably not
but I
wrong.
will say I like where Drew is going with this because the fact of the matter is this past year has been, in my opinion, compared to the way AEW started, a big dud. And if he is attached to Cody Rhodes, so there's some. I know Cody mentioned that they're still his boys and whatnot, but he's like, "Oh, those are still my boys." But then he also throws some underhanded, jokes at him as well, and jokes about being an EVP like it was nothing or meant nothing to him or whatever. But I know he's respectful about it, but it's like he's respectful, but then he'll throw a joke. And I don't, to me, QT Marshall is attached to Cody Rhodes a little bit too much. I know you still have Dustin Rhodes as well, but I think that's kind of weird to me there. I know Dustin doesn't want to go back to WWE at all. So that makes more sense there. But QT Marshall, I actually feel good about what you just told me, Kevin, because it has been cold and maybe fresh coat of paint, fresh air, fresh idea will help 2024 be much better for AEW. My frustrations with, how they've kind of done certain things on certain days and seem to be only a pay-per-view program. I would like to see those weekly shows get back to the excitement that we used to have.
Yes, but I do want to correct you. It's QT Marshall.
Well, I'm not going to say it that way.
So yeah,
uh,
as we know, he's announced that he is finishing up his obligations at the end of the year, and then he will sunset. Have either of you seen his documentary? I think it was on YouTube. They like follow him around. He used to sell like Snap-on tools. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was very snug. Um, but no, I heard it was really good, and it shows him going from like part-time jobber to becoming somebody and actually landing a job working for AEW. But again, I haven't seen it. I'm wondering if you guys have seen it.
From part-time jobber to having a job.
There you go. There you go.
All right, so this is the thing that I really wanted to get into, and we've kind of had to go back twice, but the Continental Classic with AEW, the tournament rules. So let me tell you the rules first, because I do think this is a pretty cool little format. I want to see what your guys' thoughts are on it now that they've done a couple of matches here. But you've got 20-minute time limit, 3 points for a win. I know the soccer football fans out there are kind of seeing where we're going with this. 1 point for a draw, 3 points for a win. Everyone is banned from ringside, and there are 2 teams or quote unquote leagues. There's a blue league, and there is a gold league. All right. So, just as I'm like trying to tell you what the blue and gold league is, I can't seem to find it. Go figure. But let me see if I can pull it up. The blue and gold leagues. Do we have? I know
So
the gold league. So the gold league is John Moxley, Swerve Strickland, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Jay White. Um, I have an old list, so it doesn't show like who's won or lost so far. But what's your thoughts on that gold league group?
I see Brian Danielson on the finish, along with potentially Jay White. I think that from a booking perspective, this is brilliant because this is 25 matches with upper mid-level talent that you're going to put on TV over the next 4 weeks, and you're going to do 2 defenses or 2 tournament matches per show. So from a booking perspective, you've got 25 matches laid out for the next 30 days. I think it's brilliant. And you're getting everybody a paycheck. The guys are wrestling 5 times each because every guy has to wrestle one guy, and there's 5. So I think it's a fantastic 25 match bracket that will wind up. And the reason why I say Jay White is because the way he was handled with MJF, I think they shit on him. And I think that to pay him back for doing that level job is to either give him this belt and or put him in the final against Brian Danielson. But I think it's Danielson's to lose. That's my opinion.
Um,
So far, Drew, I'll let you talk about the Blue League real quick, but so far you've got Moxley and Briscoe have faced off. Moxley won that one. You've got Jay Lethal and Swerve Strickland. Swerve won that one, and then you
No, no,
got
no,
Jay
no.
White and Roosh.
No, 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 no. Swerve fought um Black Machismo.
oh, yeah, Jay Lethal. Yeah,
Jay
that's what I said.
Lethal. No, you said Jay
That's what
White.
I said.
Oh,
No.
No,
no,
no.
I
Jay
Okay,
said Jay
so sorry.
Lethal.
Jay Lethal is who I thought I said because I'm reading it. So you got Swerve Strickland fought Jay Lethal and Swerve
yes.
Strickland won, and then you have Jay White who fought Roosh. Now that's one thing I agree with you, Kevin, is that to me Roosh was a guy who they just introduced recently, and for him to get a loss kind of seemed weird, other than to make Jay White's resume better.
And the
So
beautiful thing about this
I
is these guys can take a loss in this tournament and still win it.
Which
yes, that's
You
true.
don't have to win every match. So this is again, this is a brilliant idea to put your upper level mid-tier talent on TV every week for 25 matches, and they don't always have to win. So it actually works out very, very well. This is a very smart move in my opinion.
which we'll come to with the other side of the league, because a certain somebody who put 2 of his championships into this tournament took an L immediately.
Yep, sure did.
Right.
And a very
So
very
so
good
to
match.
Drew's point, you on the white side, on the gold side, we've got Jay White with 3 points, John Moxley with 3 points, and Swerve Strickland with 3 points. The rest have nothing. On the blue side, you've got Andrade. He hasn't wrestled yet. Danielson, he hasn't wrestled yet. You've got Claudio Castagnoli faced off against Daniel Garcia, and Claudio won that in 10 minutes. And then you got the longest match so far, 16 minutes, almost 17 minutes, and it's a 20-minute time limit. Keep that in mind. Was Brody King versus Eddie Kingston, and Eddie took the L there, which Drew, as you mentioned, was kind of eye-opening because he's the one that gave up the belts.
Hey, quick question here too. Like, this kind of caught me off guard. It's like when I saw Brody King in there, it's like, was I mistaken on this one? But I could have swore that was supposed to be Malachi Black. Like, they originally said it was Malachi Black, and then now they're saying it's Brody King. Was I wrong on that one?
I don't
I mean,
recall
I
that.
don't know. I'd have to look back and see, but
All right. It does, and it's funny. It resonated with me because number one, Malachi Black has openly complained about, you won't put me in singles matches, and number two, this seemed really like made for his kind of for him to do stuff. Like, nothing against Brody King. I think Brody King's fine and all, but like, I think we would have benefited from Malachi here instead of Brody.
How quickly do you think he's going to run back to the WWE when his contract is up? Hey man, Buddy
Fairly
Matthews.
fairly quickly, but that's the problem. Malachi's contract isn't up for quite some time. He
Yeah, I
signed a
got
really long contract.
speaking critically of what AEW has done with some talent that they've taken away, they haven't done a very good job with it. Miro, just not even any use. Malachi Black, mediocre at best as far as use. Andrade, they shelved him for a while because of his anger issues and issues that he caused out back. Um, so far, Adam Copeland, Christian been used fairly well.
Keith Lee,
Um,
he hadn't been used
oh,
for.
horribly, horribly. And man, he was so good
who?
too. Keith Lee.
Keith Lee. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Samoa Joe's getting a push. Samoa Joe was Ring of Honor champion for quite some time. I'm trying to think of who else pops in my head that
Ruby Riott didn't get,
CM Punk. I mean, we know how that worked out.
um,
They put him
Well,
in
they
main
gave
event shit, and
CM
they still
Punk a
fired
ton
him.
of time,
That's
though.
right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
And you know what? Another thing is like John Moxley, thankfully he got the win here, but they had him up against Orange Cassidy and gave him a L. I mean, he's got to be a guy. He's one of those guys on my list that in the state of AEW right now, John Moxley, Kenny Omega cannot be they're not in a spot to be putting over Nick Wayne's of the world and even Orange Cassidy's of the world. John Moxley's got to get a belt back. Kenny Omega's got to get a belt back. These guys have got to be the face of your program right now while you're suffering.
you're showing how casual you are and how green you are, Morgan. Again, if you do that, you're not progressing the business. Giving MJF a shot to show. My wife brought it up tonight. And she had picked up something in that what is it, wrestlers program, about how a heel can be a face. You're seeing MJF practice his baby face, because eventually they will turn MJF babyface in a year, in 2 years, and 3 years. And right now you're seeing that he can do that as well. We all know the devil's coming back in February, March, April, whenever he comes back from whatever's going to happen in the future. But they're showing you that he can play face and he can play heel just as well. So I don't believe that putting a strap, which is just a prop and just a pain in the ass to go through TSA with, on anyone improves the business unless you're bringing up that younger generation. We've talked about the fact that Kenny Omega's best days are likely behind him at this point, and he's going to need somebody like a Will Ospreay to pull a better day out of him. I don't think Moxley needs a belt. He's an attraction. He pops people just as hard without a strap, but I don't think the strap matters. Making an Orange Cassidy a champion, a believable champion, we've noticed that Orange Cassidy has been doing less comedy because of it. You're making the next star. So I don't agree with that, Morgan. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, that I always thought that's the thing where it's like the belt makes the wrestler, doesn't make the belt. And that's the thing, is like WWE's always been that way about it too. And most wrestling companies, it's like when you've got a star that is super over in that, with the audience and stuff, they don't technically need the belt. Like, guys like that was the whole point with certain wrestlers like Steve Austin. The Undertaker is a great example of that. And, Undertaker never needed the belt. Undertaker was Undertaker. You came to see the spectacle and, Undertaker wrestle a match, and you didn't care whether he was champion or not.
To that point, they created the streak, which was technically the same as having a belt, right?
Yeah.
So
And that's what I'm saying. Like, Austin's another example. Austin never it's like it was Austin and Rock. They never needed. It wasn't about them having the belt. It was about them chasing the belt that made for quality TV.
and we all know it's the chase that people want to see.
Yeah, it's the chase. 100% on that. It's like there's going to be a point here soon, especially with how he is, where MJF isn't going to need the title. He's going to be MJF. You're going to tune in to see MJF, because he's the upper echelon. And for AEW right now, yeah, Mox is in that position where and I would say Bryan Danielson's in that position too, where they don't need the title. You come to see them do their thing.
Danielson's issue though is he can't stay healthy.
That too. It's like, well, let's face it. He's been fragile since 2014, 2015. We're lucky to have him now as we do, and we'll take what we can get.
Bonus time.
Well, speaking of belts, this Continental Championship is going to turn into eventual belt for one of these gentlemen.
Or three.
I thought they were combining them. They're not combining them. You're gonna have to carry all three.
Oh, Morgan, you casual. You have never seen how Japan does these things, have you?
You're gonna have to carry three in Japan.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't think that's how we're gonna do it here.
They covered up this one. They covered up this one and they touched it. They were rubbing it like they wanted it. So Andrade, thoughts on? Give me 1 to 10. 10 being a great chance to win this tournament. Andrade.
2.
2?
5.
Wow, 5? Okay.
What
Okay,
are your
not
thoughts?
good, not good. Based on the history of how they've done Andrade and the fact that he has really, nothing going for him right now, I would say he's just there
Yeah,
to lose a couple of times, maybe get a
he's
win or
there to
2
put
here
on
and there,
good
but
matches.
Do you
That's
think
he's there
it.
there's
to put
any
on good matches.
do you think there's any political bullshit with Ric Flair being there now in the back?
Well, I mean, I
No.
thought we still had issues with that. I thought, she doesn't seem to have any Instagram. She used to be drooling all over the guy on Instagram, and now Charlotte doesn't really. I don't think she really has much about him on there anymore. I thought they were done. Are they still together?
I don't know.
I have no reason to believe they're not. Kind of like, Triple H and Steph getting a divorce, and Triple H is like, boy, I like how the internet dictates my life. It was
Yeah, right.
complete and utter bullshit.
Right, yeah, and she was
Fair
at
point.
Survivor Series as a
Right.
fan, not as
Mhm.
a worker. Okay, so the next one is Brian Danielson, uh, 1 to 10, what you got?
Hard
7.
8. Hard 8.
8 and a 6?
I say
Okay,
7.
8 and a 7, okay. So they might go longer there.
What
Eddie
do you think?
Kingston.
Whoa, what do you think?
Oh,
You
okay. Um, eh, Brian Danielson on the blue side, um, Kingston, Brody, Claudio,
let
Garcia.
me let me
Yeah,
remind you of
I would say Danielson, yep.
this is his victory
I'm gonna
lap.
give him a 10.
He's done in less than a year if he holds to his word.
I mean, what wrestler holds to their word? I mean, we're sitting
Thank you.
here,
He's
we've
a
got
different kind of
Sting
guy though.
and oh, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, you know what? A vegan can still come back.
He's not vegan
So,
anymore. It's too difficult to eat vegan on the road.
whatever.
I guess he's not good at his word then.
He's not good on his word because he can't even stick to his freaking eating habits that he has. Um, all right. So Eddie Kingston, I'm gonna go ahead and give you mine. I'm gonna say a 0.
Eddie
I'm giving
Kingston?
I'm giving Danielson a 10.
No, I'm going with 8 on Eddie Kingston.
All
He's
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna give him
underdog guy.
I'm gonna give him a soft 7. Yeah, they're gonna play on our emotional heartstrings. I think he's gonna be in the semifinals.
He's the guy actually fighting for something because he has these titles. He's defending. It's like he said, to everyone else, they're trying to win a tournament. Eddie Kingston's out there trying to defend the 2 championships that mean something to him. He's got
Okay.
a better reason for fighting than the majority of these guys. Yeah, he's an 8 in my book. Like he'll
Okay, I'll
push
give
it
him a
to 10.
6. Brody King, I give him a 0.
4.
2.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't like the guy.
He's here for fun
Claudio
matches.
Castagnoli, I'd probably give Claudio a 7.
Oh man, yeah, I think Claudio's up there. I'll give it an 8. It's like I can see them giving it to Claudio. And that would give you another reason to have him and Kingston go again.
I'll give him an over easy 6.
6.
Okay.
All right.
When you twist that, it sounds like, some weird crackling, Kevin, by the way.
Oh, the earpiece? Sorry, it keeps falling out.
Yeah, when you do that, it all right, so then Daniel Garcia, Daniel's just a goofy dancer at this point. I mean, he's another skinny young kid.
1.
Wouldn't
I
it be
give him a 0.
interesting wouldn't it be interesting if we made a new star out of this tournament?
Yeah.
And who would that new
Yeah,
star
it ain't
be?
gonna be Daniel. It ain't gonna be Daniel Garcia.
Okay.
I see
Don't
no
convince me of
evidence
that.
to say he's that star though. Right now.
But I could see this being a swerve and it be creating a new star.
Well, let's go back and rank with the other side here. We'll see if we see the winner on,
Let's put Daniel Garcia in the main event in one of the big events or matches at World's End. Wrong. Not gonna happen. I wouldn't want that. Okay, so the gold side is Mark Briscoe. I give him a 0.
1.
Soft 2.
John Moxley. Whew.
You know what? I'm gonna go with 9.
I give him a 5. I give him a 5.
I'm gonna go
I don't
9.
have any. I don't have any hope that they're gonna. You guys just convinced me he doesn't need a belt. So
No, yeah, but Kevin convinced me of this earlier, months ago, where like he said when they gave him the international champion chip, the point he said like I can see Moxley being that guy who takes a belt, becomes an ambassador for the company, zips around, from Japan to the other countries defending this, championship belt. And I was like, if this belt comes with a heavy amount of responsibility and exposure for AEW, yeah, I'll go 9. I see them giving it to Mox and making Mox that ambassador guy for AEW. And it's something Mox would actually genuinely want to do. Is, like I said, he doesn't need a title, but if the holding a title means I got to go around the rest of the world and represent AEW in other companies and stuff like that, that's totally a Mox thing.
Nick Wayne's mom just rolled over and whispered in my ear, 6.9.
Oh, jeez.
Swerve Strickland, I would give him probably an 8 or 9.
9.5. It's like, because on that same note, it's like we can't put the AEW World Title on Swerve right now. This is an easy out to create a title that not only can he defend, but he can elevate this championship with the momentum he has right now. Swerve might be my pick to win this.
I'm going to give him a runny 7.
Ugh. Does it have to be a runny 7?
I'm gonna give him a boiled 8.
I think we see bigger things for Swerve. I think this is just a holding spot for him until we can get new plans after the first of the year. I think once we get past the December 30th pay-per-view, I think 2024 is going to be a top year for Swerve. And that was
Agreed.
displayed by opening the show with him after a phenomenal pay-per-view. He was the first person to walk out of that tunnel, and that just tells you that they have plans for him. That's how the business works.
That's how QT worked, but not anymore.
Well, no. Remember, he formats it. He doesn't put the matches together.
He's not the booker.
That's right.
But I thought formatting meant he'd come out first, right?
Well,
QT
yes.
says
The
so.
matches.
Wouldn't that be?
Yes, but
So
booking,
wouldn't he
booking
dictate he came out first?
Yes, but anybody in that formatting role would take anybody off of the pay-per-view that's hot and put them on first. That isn't your signature. Your signature with QT was he always got a women's match in the middle of the show. It was super rare to see a women's match open. In fact, I'm not sure it ever did, or close. And I think the only close we got was with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. So he had a style, and every formatter has a style. So that's all I'm saying.
Next two up, it's 2 zeros for me. Roosh and Lethal. I don't think that there's no proof they're even going to let him win a match in AEW. It is crazy. But Roosh, I don't really know what they're doing with him, but I feel like this isn't his moment.
The irony is those are 2 stars you could make in this tournament right there. I'll give them both each a 4 because I'm not ruling it out. But, man, like I said, you can make a star out of both of those right there. Do this.
Yeah, I Roosh 4, and as much as it hurts me to say Lethal 1 or 2, and I gotta wonder what Lethal's politics are in the back. Like, why is he okay? Is he on the downside of his career? He has to be. Is he
That's what I'm
helping
thinking.
younger talent? Is he helping younger talent? Like, why is he okay with jobbing to everyone?
I'm thinking
So,
like you. I think you're on the money with that. I think that it seems like he's perfectly fine being where he's at, getting his matches and losing, and being a guy who knows what he's doing in the ring so that he can be safe, and it's not about him anymore.
yeah.
How much are they paying him? Because, you can be real super content with that if they're paying you a boatload of money to do that.
Tony Khan is a money mark.
Yeah.
That is what it seems to be right now, to be honest. Finally, up on the list on the Gold League side is Jay White. And Kevin has sold me on the idea that this is the moment for him to get back the disastrous booking that he had. And this might make a lot of sense now. Maybe this is why Jay White was okay with losing the way he did because he knew this was coming up next and there was a significant plan for him. So I'm going to give this one a 9.
Yeah, this is a poached 9.
I'm gonna give this a chafed 8. It's like I can see it. I can see it happening, but at the same time, like, it's like, we can move it to a swamp ass 6 if Kevin is
Like,
right about the whole thing that he's only here for like a year deal and then he's going to WWE.
are we talking like mesh bathing suit running down the beach chafed?
Ooh,
Yeah,
that
Oof,
hurts.
that's some
It's
chafing right there.
the salt
That's some
air.
chafing. Oh yeah, that's some chafing. Yeah, I think Jay White. I think it's going to come down to Jay White and Daniels, and I think that Jay White has more than a 50% shot of taking this whole thing, just because the way he was shit on in the MJF program.
all right, that's fair.
So that's really our tournament overview of the Continental Classic. So it looks like rating wise, we've got high up on the list Danielson, Kingston, got maybe a stretch pick of Garcia. We've got Strickland and Jay White with maybe a stretch pick, maybe of Moxley or Roosh on the other side. So there is some. I think one thing that's good is that there is some debate, right? It's not just like clear cut who they're going to give it to. So that helps. And it kind of helps me out as well because as Kevin mentioned, I have been longing to see these guys that I think are their top talent wrestling for something, not just putting over, young skinny guys. And this is an area where they can wrestle for something. So it actually is something I'm looking forward to because of that.
What is it with young skinny guys that you don't like?
I mean, I guess it's just the puka necklace or whatever. It's just it's giving me 1990s, high schooler vibes of Nick Wayne, and I hate it. But he works great
Swerve
with
wrestles.
his adopted dad, Christian Cage.
Swerve wrestles with a crystal around his neck, talking about 1980s, 80s, 90s vibe. Speaking of Christian Cage, we are going to get, we believe we're going to get Adam and Christian December 6th. I believe it's going to be on Collision, if I'm not mistaken. That came out of this week's Collision. Did it
We're
not?
gonna, yeah, but I'm with you. I think we're gonna find a way to get around that, and we'll probably get it on December 30th instead.
How much of a rib is naming Luchasaurus Killswitch?
Um, I'm not sure how it's a rib, but do tell. But I mean,
Well, wasn't that his finishing maneuver in WWE?
yeah, that's what I said. Like you're my finisher. That's why he calls.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, I like it.
fantastic. Yeah, I
I
think
thought
it's
it was a good
fantastic.
idea.
Well, it's better
Um,
calling him unprettier.
I was thinking they were going to take the mask off of him or give him a new mask, but he took the
Um,
concerto from Adam on Saturday night.
dude, they were trying to make him look like a badass because he took the concerto and he still tries to get up. Like it,
He
Yeah, I
was
like
pulling a
that
John
too.
Moxley. He's pulling a John Moxley.
No, he's pulling a cane. He's literally Kane now with the dinosaur mask.
Speaking of the musings of AEW this week, can we talk about the whole Devil appearance and how it was super, super, super convenient that Adam Cole played pocket pool when the Devil appeared and took his hand out when the Devil came off the screen. Now, Morgan, when I talked to you earlier today, I'm going to use the word cute. You were so cute. Why would a wrestler in this day and age have to do that? Wouldn't the truck do that? It's a work.
Hey, are we going to talk about the other thing about that?
It's an Easter egg.
Where the part where they all heard, where you heard the Devil kind of speak and laugh, and everyone on the internet was like, "I think that's Jack Perry."
I haven't seen any of that.
Oh yeah, they all think the vocals and the laughter. They said like, "Dude, that sounds exactly like Jack Perry." So now they're like, "Is Jack Perry the Devil?"
So let me ask you, historically, and we can go back 10 years ago, WWE did a thing where they digitized somebody's voice, and within minutes, someone had broken it down and played the recording of the actual wrestler saying it because that technology is so fucking old. So if that's the case, why hasn't anybody done that with the voice that we heard the other night?
That's what I'm thinking. They think it is that they did it and they said, "Hey, it's Jack Perry."
Where's the proof? Show me the audio of Jack Perry saying those exact words. Because again, this has been done numerous times. That's why wrestling doesn't do it anymore. The technology is not all advanced. You find the algorithm that digitizes the voice, break it down. You've got the human voice, and you play it back for everybody to hear. My guess is either it's not his voice. It could. I'm not saying it's not him, although I'm saying it's not him. But if that was the case, it would have been on the internet in 20 minutes. Some geek in his mom's basement
Yeah, I agree.
would have played that back by now, and it would be out of the bag. So that would be a boo-boo face on AEW for even thinking of having the actual person record the voice. Now, again, my wife is starting to get into this whole thing is the devil as well. It's kind of funny. She's taking somewhat of an interest in pro wrestling for the first time in like damn near 30 something years. We've never seen the devil from the waist down. So if Adam Cole is legit hurt, and I think it's a 50-50 shot at this point that he is legit hurt, but I think it's 99% now that we know that it's not CM Punk. Adam Cole, 1% Tony Khan, and I think it could be a schmoz, but I think we're going to get the payoff in December 30th. But I truly believe that it's Adam Cole 99%.
Yeah, I think it's Adam Cole. I mean, Tony Khan would be kind of funny, but if
And
it
it would be,
was Jack Perry, that would be a disaster.
yes, I agree that I think everybody involved would know that if they introduced it as Jack Perry, it would get boos. That would be a death knell for AEW for the first half of the year. They would have a very difficult time overcoming that decision. That's my opinion. But like I said, if it's Adam Cole, where do we go? If he's really hurt, where do we go? Is it so disturbing that it's Adam Cole that he causes a schmoz and Samoa Joe rolls him up? I can see Samoa Joe beating MJF December 30th, especially considering what came out today with MJF having a torn
Right.
labrum. I think it makes sense and it's playing into the hand. But Morgan, as you learned from that program on Netflix, you can't always script reality. People get hurt. Things happen.
I have heard people online saying that, like, depending on how the tear is to his, what is it, the labium or
Not the labium.
yeah, let's go with that. It's like I don't know what damn dyslexia, but towards labia.
You need to put that on the headline of the podcast. MJF towards his labia. Oh boy.
They're so close.
Yeah,
they're
my
so
muscles.
close.
Yeah, so close.
Oh, look at me trying to sound smart, and I should have just said shoulder, right? Anyway,
it says labrum.
No, it's his labia now. Fuck that. we're going there. Anyway, the story I've heard is like with depending on how serious it is, he could get away with just like physical therapy and still be good enough to go, with no questions asked on the 30th. But I mean, if he tore his labia, then oh god, he's in serious trouble.
Did the same guy that told you that was Jack Perry's voice that they recorded? Is he the one that's telling you that he doesn't need surgery?
No, actually, believe it or not, one of the people that was saying it was Crowbar.
Oh yeah, he's relevant.
It's like, hey man, Crowbar's probably fucked up enough of his muscles to know what is and isn't, gonna put you on the sideline.
Well, to be fair for you, Drew, going back to that, labium and labrum, they're both very close to each other on an insect. And they're not, it's not the same. So, it's easy to get confused if we were talking about an insect. So, but anyways.
I need Morgan. I need you in my life. It's like more often for every time I fuck up the word wrong, and you come up with a reason of how Drew could have fucked that up.
No, you know what? I mean, the recovery depends on many factors for MJF. It looks like if they do get surgery, I mean, they could fight through this 4 to 6 weeks if it reattaches itself to the bone. Once it does, then it takes another 4 to 6 weeks to get back to full health. So you're talking 8 to 12 weeks here. It's a big blow for your top guy right now. It kind of goes back to what Kevin was saying of if there's any moment where you need to move on to Samoa Joe and give him finally give Samoa Joe a the championship belt of a decent promotion, you know, this would probably be it on December 30th.
Here's a challenge, and I want you to think about this before you respond. You have the pencil. You know that MJF is going to need to take time off, but you know January 1st, 2024, he is a quote unquote free agent. How do you book him now knowing that he's not going to be able to wrestle for a short amount of time? And you're going to still keep that story fresh. And the fact that he could jump to WWE, even though I fully believe he's under contract, the storyline says January 1st, 2024, he is a free agent in which he can negotiate with WWE. How do you keep that story alive knowing he's not going to be able to wrestle on TV?
I got an idea. Well, that my first thought was like, if he's gonna actually need shelf time, the blow off. If we're gonna talk like the blow off of the devil angle, maybe we don't even blow off the devil angle at World's End. Maybe it's like if you're gonna put him on the shelf, honestly, with those stories they've been trying to tell, that should be Wardlow. Wardlow should maybe be the guy that interferes in the Samoa Joe MJF match and just obliterates, MJF and causes him to lose the top. Because that was Wardlow's thing. I'm going to screw up everything for you, and I'm going to strike at a moment where it matters the most and you least expect it. And then, you could still have, MJF on TV just with the fact that you've argued Wardlow injured him.
Do you run the chance of losing interest in the double angle if you don't pay it off in December 30th?
No, I don't know, man. If you could add layers to it and make it that the devil is actually trying to aid MJF as opposed to hinder him, you could maybe still keep it going for a minute.
Okay. Morgan, what would you do?
What I would do is I would have the devil distract MJF, and I like the idea of Wardlow, but I think that you would have the devil distract MJF. I think you could have the devil be Adam Cole, and my idea would be that you wouldn't have to really talk so much about his injury, but you could say something along the lines of, because MJF has been so, like, you're my best friend kind of thing with Adam Cole. I could see being so devastated by finding out that his best friend has betrayed him that he needs to take time away to think about his future. And he also loses his belt to Samoa Joe in the whole thing. So he loses his belt and then also loses his best friend in the same night. Would devastate him to need to, take time off to mull his contract, I guess you could say. Maybe he doesn't belong there. He doesn't have a friend. He doesn't have a belt. Maybe he needs to go to somewhere else. But we know that that's already locked in. But that's kind of my thought. Other than that, I think Drew's kind of.
Would you say he was losing his smile?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like
you could say
the bidding war 2024 should be a case that it's like you should almost run the CM Punk angle of, does he want to be here versus do people want him here? Where you could have like the roster basically, making it clear whether they do or don't want MJF as a part of this company.
So I'll give you my bare bones, whether you want to hear it or not. Have him drop the belt to Samoa Joe, expose the devil as whoever it's going to be, whether it be Adam Cole or Tony Khan or whoever else you want to put in that mask. And then come January 1st, MJF doesn't wrestle. He's on week after week talking about how he could wrestle, but he's not signed and he doesn't need to wrestle. And he's working with the other company and he's in negotiations week after week after week until he's healed. And then when he's healed, come back, put the strap back on. Samoa Joe is transitional for injury. That's what I do. And again, that's the bare bones. Hang some leaves off of that, but that's your basically your frame for the storyline.
And I'd accept it because even as a transitional champion, I totally think with everything he's helped and done so far, it's like Samoa Joe deserves a spot, a chance to be at the top.
I agree. And maybe it's an opportunity to swap out the belt together. I mean, maybe we make Samoa Joe transition from MJF to Swerve and see how Swerve does at drawing. I mean, the crowd seems to be behind him right now. That was a hellacious match he was in. He earned his stripes in that match. You got MJF. I mean, sorry, you got Wardlow chasing the belt. You got who else was said he's coming after MJF. There's somebody else I'm missing here. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think 2024 is going to be an interesting year, and it's going to be a pivotal year for AEW. 2023 is on the downswing. They can't afford to be on the downswing the entire 2024. They need to turn the business around, and I think that with the new year, new programs, set your 12 months out.
Spark.
That's right. Exactly. You just got to hit on something. That's how I feel.
As we're coming to the end, I wanted to do our weekly on this day in wrestling history. It's November 27th. So let's go back to 1986. The NWA presented a unique Starrcade titled The Night of the Skywalkers. Presented TV matches alternating between the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. Heavyweight champ Ric Flair and NWA United States champ Nikita Koloff in the night's only title change. Tully Blanchard won the NWA television title in a first blood match against Dusty Rhodes.
Was question for,
by the way, the main event with Flair and Koloff was a double disqualification.
Was this the scaffold match too with Road Warriors and Midnights, in where oh god, poor Jim Cornette takes the fall that he's like
kneecap.
Still bitches. Yeah, he's still bitches about that to this
Morgan,
day.
fun fact: the night that we were at Collision, and I pointed out that gentleman that was 2 rows behind us, he was one of those guys in the scaffolding that day.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
1991 WWF Survivor Series took place at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. The event saw the first ever non-elimination match in Survivor Series. That match saw WWF champion Hulk Hogan lose his title to The Undertaker after interference from Ric Flair. This win made Taker the youngest WWF champion in history at that point.
This match also has the infamous thing where Hulk Hogan swears to God that the tombstone he took from Undertaker onto the chair screwed up his neck and back forever. But despite the fact that the camera will clearly show you that A, his head never makes contact with the actual chair, and B, Undertaker gives him the most gentle tombstone pile driver you've ever seen in your life. It is a classic moment in Hogan being Hogan.
1999, this one's for Kevin. Hiro Matsuda died of colon cancer at age 62. Famous trainer for Hogan, Hall, Great Muta, Lex Luger, Ron Simmons, and Paul Orndorff.
Matsuda-san.
Like I said, look at the list.
2005. Another 2005 show, or another Joe Louis Arena, Detroit, Michigan, Survivor Series 2005. Bautista, Rey Mysterio, JBL, and Bobby Lashley and Randy Orton defeated Shawn Michaels, Kane, Big Show, Carlito, and Chris Masters. I got a picture with Chris Masters, by the way. He's still, I randomly saw him on Instagram. He's doing like, I think I texted this to you guys. He's doing like, bingo halls now.
Well, that's the indie life.
Yeah. Also, heads up, if you really follow him or listen to him in any of his, interviews and stuff like that, Chris Masters is a great human being.
Did he have you in the master lock in that photo?
No. Oh, wait, him.
I told him to do I told him to show me his bicep. So I met him when we were in Baghdad when I was overseas with the Army. And I asked him. I also have a picture of MJF, or not MJF, CM Punk.
Cena.
CM Punk was there. John Cena. I got myself with John Cena. Undertaker was there. Shelton Benjamin, great guy too. Stayed late. Undertaker stayed late. John Cena, all those guys that you hear stay late, they definitely stayed late for the troops. But I had Chris Masters. I said, do your show me your bicep. And so I did my bicep next to his bicep. Oh my God. I mean, he is like 7 times, his arm's like 7 times bigger than my arm.
He didn't make the pec stance for you?
Well, I didn't ask. I thought that'd be kind of, maybe inappropriate.
Oh man, he does it all the time now.
Yeah. 2018. This one's for Kevin too. Asuka won Battle Royal on SmackDown to qualify for the main event at TLC. And alongside Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, she ended up winning that main event match in that pay-per-view. So good job, Asuka. That's
There's
it.
a reason why.
That's it.
That's the reason why my female dog is named Oscar, and there she is right now.
All right. Well, thank you guys. It's been a good show. We talked about a lot of good things. Hope you enjoyed it if you're listening here, and we will see you next week. I don't know. There's not any big pay-per-views between now and then, right? But we will have a couple of shows, more shows of CM Punk. We'll get to talk about him more to Kevin's,
Chagrin.
anger, I guess. Chagrin. Yeah. But again, this is Kevin, Drew, and myself, Morgan, wishing you a good week, and we'll see you next week on And Still, a Wrestling Podcast.
I got to go tear up Nick Wayne's mom's labia.